morning.
John, Marcy's here, but she had to step away for a minute, so she'll be right back.
Okay, great.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Kathy.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining us on a Friday morning. Hope you all had a great Halloween.
Yes,
Gave away all the candy, so that's a winner.
yes.
Well, I went to Disneyland with my family.
Oh,
That's nice.
That was different. Yeah, yeah. It was a marathon walk. That's what it was, to try to hit every ride there was.
how'd you do?
I did very well. Keeping up with all the kids. And but I think we put in about, I'm not kidding you, about 20 miles.
Oh
Just
my gosh.
trying
I don't-
to over 2 days, just, you know. And I didn't ride one ride, and that was Guardians of the Galaxy. Yeah, because it's one of those ones that drops you,
Yes.
raises you up and drops you. Yeah, I can't do those. So.
I at first I thought you were going to say you didn't ride any ride, as in I didn't ride a single ride, but okay, just one. Well, good for you.
Yeah, so yeah. I came out alive, so I'm okay. All right. Is everybody here?
You're missing
We
somebody.
we will not have Mary with us today, and Megan responded that she would be joining. Megan has asked to join the committee, and she responded she would be joining the meeting today. But I don't see her on yet, unless I'm missing her. So I expect she will be joining any minute, and then we expect Monica as well, although I don't know where Monica is. Mike,
I'll-
can I ask
I'll
a
give
favor?
Monica a call.
Yep, thanks.
Cool. We'll give them a few more minutes. So is everybody disappointed that the Diamondbacks didn't go further in their playoff?
Oh, yeah, that was so sad.
Yeah, I know.
Definitely.
Mike's crying about it.
Is he? Yeah.
Jason's only hurt because he's an Astros fan and a different Texas team won.
That is true. That is very true.
That's pretty good.
And they're in my division, so like, oh.
Well, it only took them 20 some odd years to get to the playoffs, but yeah. All right.
Hi, Marcy. Glad you're back.
Good morning. Thank you for giving me a little bit of time. I had a pet emergency.
Hope everybody's okay.
I think so.
Good.
And I think I have my.
You just muted yourself. We didn't hear that. I gotta know. Like, I have those pet emergencies. It's usually Brutus eating something really stupid that's going to cost me money at the vet. No.
Oh no, this is worse, and I won't go into it.
Oh.
Everyone's okay. Everyone is separated. Oh, I'm good.
Good morning. Tell the children to behave. Megan just joined us.
Hi, Megan.
I think
You're
you
on.
mute. Megan,
I
I
was
think.
trying to log. Sorry, I was trying to log in my iPad. It wasn't coming. I've been stuck on a little technical difficulty, but I got into my phone.
Monica will join us in about 2 minutes.
Okay.
Hello, testing, am I on?
Yes, you are. Good morning, Miss Monica.
Good morning.
All right.
Okay,
So I
Kathy, I
think
think we have everybody.
Good, good. Okay, well, thank you all for joining us on this Friday morning to, go over our work plan. And I think this will be a great meeting because I think you'll see from the documents that were sent out to you, the measurements we're really trying to achieve. And I think things will make more sense. And then hopefully from that, you'll, think about whether or not there are other things we need to add to our work plan. But thank you for coming. Do we need to do roll call?
Yes, we
Okay,
do.
all right. Does Marcy, can you do that, please?
Sure, I'll be happy to. I'm going to start with council members. So Kathy, let's have you as chair. Introduce yourself.
Hi, this is Kathy Lewandowski, the
Thank you,
chair
Kathy.
of the work plan meeting review committee. Sorry.
No worries. Bianca.
Hi, Bianca here.
Thank you, Bianca. Megan.
Megan Cox is here.
Thank you, Megan. Monica Cooper. Monica.
I'm here.
Hey, great. And Melissa.
I am here, Melissa Van Hook.
Great. Okay. And then staff, I'm Marcy Crane, and I will pitch it to John.
John Myers, Executive Director.
Lonnie.
Good morning, Lonnie Saints here, fiscal manager.
Thank you. Michael
Good morning, Michael Leva, Grants and Contracts Coordinator.
and Jason.
I'm here. Morning. Research and communication specialist. So
Thank you, Jason. I think that's it. Back to you, Kathy.
Okay, so we received from the staff 4 documents, and one of the documents was the minutes from the June 2nd meeting. Has everyone had a chance to review the June 2nd minutes? And do you have any questions?
I had just a little minor correction on page 2 under goal 1 self-determination. And that there's a typo. Sorry, guys. In the last sentence in there, the word "in," got to delete one of those ends.
Thank you. We'll make note of it and change it.
And okay, and as it's stating its goal, person should be persons. It should be plural.
We'll take a look at it. We'll see how it is in the work plan.
Okay, and that's it. Thank you.
Okay, any other comments? Questions? Okay. Could I have a motion to accept the minutes of June 2nd?
So moved.
Thank you. Thank you, Monica. Could I have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, thank you. Can I call for a vote? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Those opposed? Okay, I think our minutes have been approved. Thank you. Okay, hold on, I gotta go find my minute, there it is. All right, so next on the agenda is the 2023 annual work plan. And John and Marcy are going to provide us with information on report on outcomes and program performance report update. John?
Thank you, Kathy. Yeah, we didn't want to go into a tremendous amount of detail on this, but we wanted to just provide you with some highlights for the work, highlights of the work that was done during fiscal year 23. As you all know, we operate in a federal fiscal year, so fiscal year 2023 just ended on September 30th. We barely, entered into fiscal year 24 now, just a month into it. But there are a few things that we want to just point out that were, in our minds, especially noteworthy or especially successful. As you all also know, we have 5 goal areas. The first of which is self-determination. There is a mandate from ACL that we include self-determination or self-advocacy as one of our goal areas, and that we have to do specific work related to that. We are funding development or expansion of a statewide network of self-advocates. That project was originally funded with Southwest Institute for Families and Children. It is now transitioned to a grant to the ARC of Arizona and the ARC of Tempe, and that work is ongoing. They're doing fantastic work on that, but that is a new contract for 2023. The areas that we think really stuck out are the Special Education Advocacy Program, or SEAP, which is funded through the Arizona Center for Disability Law. That is a project to help families and individuals or students with disabilities become better advocates for themselves in the public education process around the state of Arizona. We received a really impressive report from JJ and his staff about the work that they did during the first year of funding for that, and we are now funding an additional year. Or actually, I think we're into the third year. Marcy can maybe correct me, but it is the program itself is now going to expand to more areas of the state after having provided some really essential basic technical assistance and some really essential intensive technical assistance to individual families to help them through the process of getting the special education services that their children need in schools, primarily in the Phoenix and Tucson areas, but in some outlying areas as well. They're helping multilingual families. They're helping families of Native American students. So they are reaching a broad segment of the population and doing some really fantastic work. There was a project that we funded with the Sonoran USAID called the Transition Ahead Roundtable, or TAR. That project has come to an end, but that was another effort to help students in the public education process and with heavy focus on Native American students to become better advocates and to more successfully move out of the K-12 system into higher education or into employment or into other activities that matter to them. TAR was a one-on-one focused program, and the reports that we've received really indicate that it's having a fantastic impact in the lives of those students. Our second goal area is employment. Mike Leva is the primary staff member attached to our employment efforts, and Melissa chairs the Meaningful Careers Committee, which is focused on employment opportunities for individuals with IDD. We currently have 3 contracts in place to do work in this area, 2 of which are research focused. One is focused on a study of the VOC rehab system, and one is called what we call internally the Raising Expectations Project. The VOC rehab project is funded through the University of Massachusetts, Boston, and the Institute for Community Inclusion, which is the USAID at UMass Boston. And then the Raising Expectations project, which is funded through the Center for the Future of Arizona at ASU. They're calling it Communities at the Center. We call it Raising Expectations. But those projects have recently come to a close, and we've just received reports from the funder or from the grantees on those projects. We're analyzing those reports now. We'll have more information to share probably at the council meeting on the 17th. We are also finalizing the last couple of months of a project called SIPSI, or I can't remember what the acronym stands for, but it's a project through the Institute for Human Development at NAU that's designed to get more students moving out of the K-12 system, students with IDD moving out of the K-12 system into college placement, either at the university level or at the community college level. And that project, we're glad to say, has expanded over the course of a couple of years now to incorporate 4, not only the Northern Arizona University, but 4 community college campuses in the north and west part of the state, most recently Arizona Western College in Yuma. So we're very pleased with that. We are also continuing to collaborate with Arizona's Employment First program, and did a series of webinars related to employment for people with disabilities during October, which is National Disability Employment Awareness Month. On the inclusion goal number 3, inclusion with engagement, the Sonoran USAID had a contract to develop a series of continuing medical education videos focused on self-advocacy in the medical environment, We will make those videos available. I'll be sharing more information at the council meeting in a couple of weeks about that. Really fantastic work. They are now trying to expand the access to those videos beyond just Arizona to colleges and universities, medical schools, and self-advocacy organizations around the U.S. We continue to fund as well the Disability Data Hub, or the community index on our website. This is through Arizona State University, and we entered into an agreement with DDD a couple of months ago, so we can now get specific Arizona-based developmental disabilities data rather than just having to use the U.S. Census Bureau's general disability data. We can now incorporate specific information on IDD into the Data Hub, and Dr. Alex Kurtz, who's the contractor on this, is in the process of incorporating that data. So our Data Hub will soon reflect more specific data about the state of Arizona and the IDD community here. We're very pleased with that. Goal number 4 is safety. This was largely a response, this goal area is largely a response to the Hacienda incident, as I'm sure you all know.
Over there in the light out right now.
We funded a couple of different projects, one of which just recently came to an end, which was the Sexual Violence and Disability Network, an effort to bring together organizations from around the state to focus their efforts on addressing sexual violence against people with disabilities, and in particular IDD. That project, in many respects, was very successful, but we decided that rather than continuing funding for that particular project, we wanted to kind of reconfigure the scope of work and have it focus more on outcomes and the impact of work to prevent abuse and neglect and sexual violence against the IDD community, rather than the work that had been done to develop the network of organizations, which was largely not focused on outcomes. It was focused on really planning and some implementation, but not as much as we were hoping for. So we're in the process of developing a new scope of work now, but we do have a report from that particular grant that we'll also be happy to share with the council. We also continue to be involved in what's known as the Grand Canyon Collaborative. This is a group of entities, including the Arizona Coalition to End Sexual and Domestic Violence, the ARC of Arizona, Arizona Statewide Independent Living Council, Arizona Center for Disability Law, and ADDPC. It's a project funded by the Department of Justice through the Violence Against Women Act. It's in the Office of Violence Against Women, and it is a project specifically focused on coming up with a framework and then implementing a framework for better addressing the needs of individuals with disabilities around the state who either have experienced sexual abuse, sexual violence, or are at risk of experiencing that. So it is both a prevention and a response project, and that project is likely to be funded for another 5, possibly 10 years. Through the Department of Justice, and move from a planning stage to an implementation stage based on the work that's been done over the last 3 years. Finally, our System Access and Navigation Committee, Mary Slaughter was for a long time the chair of that committee. That has transitioned now. Jana Merle from Raising Special Kids has taken over as the chair of that committee. The big news on that front is that we are making significant progress on development of what we're calling the Getting Started Guide, which is a set of resources for individuals with disabilities, but probably more likely for family members and caregivers to help find specific resources based on different developmental stages or age stages in the life of a person with IDD. So we have sections from birth to age 5, from 5 to roughly 18, those K-12 years, from 18 to 22 or 18 to mid-20s, that young adult transition stage. And then we have, we're working on aging and elderhood as well. So we're trying to develop resources that people can access online that specifically target the needs based on those age ranges. And we are, I would say, about 70% complete in the work that's being done. The big issue that's being focused on now is that aging and elderhood segment. And we have a great intern from the University of Arizona. We have another great intern who actually is from Colorado State University, but lives here in the Valley. They are working to identify and put into place those resources so that we can make this a permanent part of our website that people can then access as they need. We also continue to fund the Native Center on Disabilities at the University of Arizona through the Sonoran USAID. This is a long-term project. We've just finished the second year of funding, moving into year 3. And that is a project that is reaching vast numbers of Native Americans around the state. Virtually every tribal community around the state has in some way been touched by that project. And it's developing a series of resources, webinars, a whole array of different sources of support for people with disabilities who happen to be members of Native American tribes in Arizona. And that has gained attention even beyond the borders of Arizona, as the U.S. Department of Labor has a long-term collaboration now with the Sonoran USAID to utilize the resources that are being developed. So that's a lot of information, and there's a whole lot more that has been accomplished over the past year. But this committee was involved in helping us to refine some of the work that we did to close out FY23. So I thought you'd like to know a little bit about some of the accomplishments of the year. And I'll be sharing more information, as I said, at the council meeting in a couple of weeks. Always happy to answer questions, but I think at this point I'd rather turn it over to Marcy and let her kind of give you an update on the program performance report that we're preparing for our federal funders now, that is due at the end of December. Marcy?
Sure. Okay. Well, thank you for that. I had my notes for some of the grants updates, but thank you, John. Yeah, so the PPR for fiscal year 23 is due December 30th. We are starting to write our drafts on all the contracts, as well as the projects that staff handles internally. And so there are 6 sections in the PPR. Everybody has a role in it. We have internal deadline dates for when we need certain things in. And then basically it is submitted through the Verity system, and I'm crossing my fingers that there aren't any hiccups with the system. And our goal is to get it in at least a couple days prior to December 30th. So we'll have more information, hopefully, to report, especially once we get feedback from ACL to the full council on that. Questions?
This is Kathy. I was wondering, you mentioned that it was a great report, I think, from JJ. So does the council, are they able to review that report just to see what was said, or and any other reports that are provided by the contractors?
So anything that's a contract that is a grant has a deliverable as a narrative reports that come in, quarterly reports. If they're research grants, the deliverable is the final report from the research. Creation of videos, like the contract for the continuing medical educations, those plus reports that they submit. So all reports have been coming in this past week. I have been reviewing them because that is the basis for creating the PPR report. So, and they have to provide final demographic and numbers, especially if it is a project that is geared towards self-advocates, family members, or training. We do need those numbers as well. So I'm in the midst of reviewing that information to create my drafts. If there's something that council members want to see specifically, if you want to see a fourth quarter report from SEEP, I'm more than happy to send that to the committee or to the council. If you, like I said, the link for the continuing medical education with Dr. Arman, they sent us a link with the videos and then a beautiful spreadsheet that listed out all the different resources that are available for self-advocates and families. We need to find a way to put that on our website, and so that we can, that's a way for the council members to go on our website and see what that particular project is. But more than happy to share anything that the council wants. Again,
Yeah.
it's a lot of reading. Not saying I'm not discouraging any of the council members. These are projects that I've approved. Just know that, if you want all 4 reports, I'm more than happy to submit all 4 reports to you guys.
Well, it would be nice to read some of them, even if you put them up on the website someplace that only council members can see, or I'm not sure about the rules as far as, can we let the public see all those reports?
Yes,
Actually,
they're public documents. The
Yeah.
contracts are public documents.
yeah. But I think if they were available so we could read them if we wanted to, that would be great. I just don't know how
Okay.
much difficulty that is for you to put them up on the website, or just email them to us. But I'd like to
Well,
read
what-
JJ's, and I'm very interested in, and I don't know about the other staff members here or council members that what they want to read, but you know, I'd like to read a couple of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm more than happy to send that to the entire group. And what we'll do internally is, because our website has been an area that we need to enhance and need to be on top of. And depending on John's thoughts about whether we're going to have a new website or someone kind of handle the maintenance of it, we can create a tab just for reports. And more than happy to just put the reports as they come in. But just know, many times I go back to the grantees and ask them to clarify information. So, you know, you're not necessarily, you may not see something quite cleaned up as much as what I would, you know, normally go back and forth and get further clarification on. And that's what I'm in the process of doing now.
Yeah, don't drive you crazy by asking you all these questions about stuff that maybe you've gotten clarification on. Okay.
Yeah, no, but it's a great idea to do that on our website. So I would, you know, in lieu of that, more than happy to send reports out to you guys.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank.
That would be good.
Does anyone else have any questions about this report? Okay. Well, thank you. That was really great. I'm looking forward to reading those. Shall we move on to performance measures, the explanation and overview?
Sure. Is there a document for that, John?
Yeah, there is.
Yes, let me pull that up really quickly here.
And before we get started on that, as John is pulling it up, I wanted to say to the other work plan members that I thought this document that you're going to see was really helpful. It helped me to understand really what the staff at ADDPC was working on and what they had to, what information they had to provide for these areas to the Fed. So I just think it's a great document that would help us down the road when we're doing our planning for what we should be working on and the measurements. Okay, sorry, John, go ahead. For Marcy.
I'll give a background, and then John and I could do this together, or he could clarify anything. So let me just give some background information on this. I think the performance measures have now been in place for all councils to use for the last 3 or 4 years. They developed a work group from ACL, working with ITAC, who's our technical assistance folks, presented various drafts. They finalized them, they got them approved. The work group was made of executive directors and staff from other council members. Arizona did not participate in this in this process. So what you see is 2 groupings of performance measures. One of them is to measure self-advocates for the self-advocacy mandate and projects that are around self-determination and self-advocacy. So you see number of people with IDD who participated, number of family members, and then there are percentages, and those percentages are based off of a survey that grantees are to use to gather that information. The next set are the SCs, which stand for systems change. If you scroll down a little bit, you'll see the systems change numbers, and those are for projects other than the self-advocacies, where the intent of the project is to create a system and the process of an agency about how they provide services and supports to families, individuals with disabilities, caregivers. So you'll see in there, perhaps councils are working on a policy change or a statute or enhancement of those issues. Are we working on a promising practice or a best practice? And there's definitions around that. And then obviously we have a number of training projects. So we capture the number of people trained or educated. And those are usually just for professionals, not counting self-advocates or family members that also attended training, because they get captured in the other categories. So those are, in a nutshell, a quick summary of them. The guidebook, which I think Kathy received, and I don't know if the other work group members received it as well, is very descriptive about what these definitions mean and how you track them and how you report on them in the PPR with this document here. So they have examples of how ACL expects you to use these. So in our work plan, when we developed and finalized the work plan that was submitted in August, internally, we identified those performance measures so that we know what we're expected to capture. And when a grant is awarded, they are also provided that information, what pertains to their project specifically, so that we get this information at the end of the contract period. So that's one way of how we tie in these performance measures. I'll stop there. Questions on this right now, or what I've said?
No, but what I want to say is the systems change. I really liked that there were two categories when I found this out. And I like that the output measure for system change, it's defined as the number of council efforts to transform fragmented approaches into a coordinated and effective system. I really like that definition. It helped me to think a little bit more clearly moving forward when we talk about what system changes we want to achieve. I thought it was very clear. So I hope this is helpful to the rest of the work group to see these examples and to see what we really should be working towards. I just think it supported what we've already put into action in our activities.
Right, and I will just make two other comments, and then I'll toss this back to John. Using this document is, just keep in mind with the systems change, is, you know, it takes a long time. It could take several years for a particular project to see the end result of a policy change that you want, or a piece of legislation, for example, to finally get signed into law. The perfect example for that is support decision making. It took several years, you know, every year to submit that legislation, seek a sponsor and additional support for that, and getting it passed, and then never made it through both chambers, and it finally did this year. So if, you know, that has to be kept in mind. If you are creating a project that is a systems change, you're going to want to ensure that that project continues on year after year after year in your 5-year work plan, so that you can report on it, hopefully, as a success. In the PPR, you report on the efforts made towards that systems change. So every year you should be showing advancement, hopefully, and, you know, overcoming barriers, things that the council did to create effort towards that. And then once you achieve it, you can mark it as a 1. You know, we created 1 policy change or 2 policy changes, and maybe some things don't take multiple years, but normally that's how flexible this document is. And in terms of when your work plan is created and you are thinking about projects, keep in mind this document so that your activities are very concise to support the measurement that you want to capture. So, you know, unfortunately, I think when the 5-year work plan was created a couple of years ago, this document was fairly new. There was a lot of rumbles, you know, by councils about it. They didn't like it. It was just too arbitrary. It was vague, but they stuck with it. And I think you have to have this document in front of you as you are creating your work plan and your activities, because, you know, you have to have, it's almost like you got to know what you're capturing so that you know what the activity is to support your objective.
Any comments? I just had one other question, and I'm asking it because I wondered if it exists in the maternal child health Title V program. One of the things that was required of the states is that you had to have an interagency agreement with the Medicaid agency. And the agreement had to have, you're required to have this agreement that you're a partner, that you're there at the table with policy changes, and that you're consulted as a maternal child health agency on, anything that Medicaid is making changes to that impact women and children with special health care needs. And states really struggle to get that interagency agreement in place that really shows that they're at the table as a partner with the Medicaid agency, like Access. I'm just wondering, is there anything like that required of the councils with DDD? I'm just curious if there is that kind of requirement anywhere. That makes sense, Marcy. Yeah, John.
I'm not aware of it, John. You mean like for like any of our activities that have to have an MOU with DDD?
Well, I was wondering, yeah, if they encourage you to have any kind of MOU that would say that DDD, as they make changes to their policies or procedures, that you're a partner at the table and they're, running it by you or letting you have input into it and things like that. I'm just curious. Do they do that?
That's kind of yes and no. So, Erica had a number of MOUs in place with a lot of different agencies that the council would collaborate on, and these were like work groups. And the council, she kind of was really key on that. And MOUs are non-binary, they're kind of non-binary to some degree because there's no funding that goes into it to support it. I can't speak to any specific, MOUs that since John's been in place, to what degree DDD has any requirement to show us any policy changes.
Okay.
So I would leave that to John to answer.
Yeah, there's nothing in statute, and there's I don't think anything in policy that requires them to run things past us. They often do because obviously we are part of a network, and the council membership itself is a network of people who have lived experience and have some pretty broad knowledge in this area. So they often contact me, or they'll contact Jason or someone else to run particular issues past. Otherwise, the only requirement on them is whatever public notice requirement exists for any policy changes. Now, I meet regularly with the assistant director at DDD and with his leadership team. So I try to stay abreast of key issues that are coming up and try to anticipate some of the things that maybe haven't been shared with the public yet. I'm not perfect at that, obviously, but I think the onus falls more on us than on them.
Okay. That's helpful. Okay. At least they're talking to you when they're making some policy changes. But good. Okay. Anyone else have any questions? I really encourage you to look at these documents that were sent to us for the meeting. I think it makes it more meaningful as far as, the objectives we're trying to achieve. But, okay. Are we moving on to the 24 work plan updates?
Sure. There's actually not a whole lot to go over on this, but I just wanted to put it on because the final version of the plan that we submitted to ACL was slightly different from the final version that was approved by the council in June, and we had sort of warned the council that might take place. Substantively, there was not a whole lot different. Some of the terminology was a little bit different, and so I just wanted to kind of let you know that the final version of the 24 plan that was approved by ACL is certainly available, and we can share it with you. But really, the key thing that I wanted to point out was really just one change in all of the activities that we had mentioned, and that was conducting a community survey. We had, as part of our FY23 plan, we had built in that we were going to conduct a community survey, and then during FY24, analyze the results of that survey. Really, the purpose of the survey was to kind of gauge people's knowledge of ADDPC and of the activities that we support, gather input from them on things that we could be doing to a greater degree or better than we're doing now, and kind of just get general impressions of how the DD system is serving people around the state of Arizona. That continues to be what our focus will be, but we were unable to get the survey done before the end of fiscal year 23. And I actually think that was probably advantageous because DDD and Access decided to issue 2 very large statewide surveys of their own starting last month. And I think, we would have had difficulty distinguishing ours from theirs. And we still have a survey project that is going to go out this fall related to behavioral health and crisis response. So, I'm trying to find the bright side of that. We weren't able to get it done in FY23, but I think it might work to our advantage. We are going to do it in FY24. And so it has just been delayed. It has not been eliminated. That is the only major change, I think, to the work plan. Again, some terminology was changed in how we presented our objectives and our activities to ACL, and part of that was actually because when we submitted our work plan, we had duplicated some language in 2 different areas, and we had to go back and correct that. Otherwise, no significant changes, just kind of proceeding with a plan to delay the community survey a little bit. Any questions on that?
I think it's good that you delayed it because you put too many surveys out there, and then the community stops responding because they get confused if there's so many surveys, and or they say they've already responded and they're not going to respond to something else. So yeah, we can over survey them and not get any cooperation. So I think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Plus,
now that being said, if you haven't seen the surveys that are out from Access and DD, well, actually, I guess they're both from Access right now. There are 2 very important surveys out there. One related to individuals' experiences related to sexual abuse or sexual violence, and how comfortable individuals feel with the way the system supports them when those things happen. I would certainly recommend that people respond to that. If you haven't seen it, I'm happy to forward the link to that survey. And then Access is also doing one related to a behavioral health program that they're thinking of bringing to the state. It's called the START program, and that is an acronym. And I honestly don't know what it abbreviates, but it is a project through the University of New Hampshire's USED. And they're envisioning possibly bringing that program to the state, but they're trying to get people's response on that. And I can also forward that link. If you are affiliated with the DD system or you are a caregiver, both of those surveys could be very relevant to you.
do you mind sending that out to us? That would be really helpful.
I
will do
agree.
that.
Yeah. Wow, they do have a lot of provider surveys out there right now, though. Wow. Okay. Thank you. That would be really helpful.
Okay. And then with regard to status of activities, I think it would be difficult for us to provide a whole lot of information at this point. Again, we're just a month into the new fiscal year, but we did meet just a few days ago as a staff to go over our entire work plan, the priorities for this year, to outline the pace of those activities, and ensure that we're all on the same page with how we're going to meet the goals that we've set for ourselves this year. Things are proceeding as they should. As I mentioned, there's just that one delay with the community survey. but the grantees are all on track. We've received the reports we need from the prior fiscal year. We're putting into place the work plans and the schedules that are necessary to complete activities in this fiscal year. We don't envision any delays. Now, that's not to say that 6 months from now we might be facing a different situation, but as far as the work plan that you all contributed to and that we submitted and got approved, things do seem to be proceeding as they should. And we are, as far as we can tell, we are on track to complete the things that we need to for the fiscal year. I know that's a very generic statement, but at this point, a month in, things look good.
That's always good to hear.
Yeah. Now, having said that, I would also open it up to any members of the staff who are working on particular projects. If they have information they want to share, or if they anticipate any particular challenges, I'd certainly love them to voice those things. Okay. One last note I would sort of share with you on that. I've spoken in the past about the potential for us to see a funding cut this year. Things have been, I think chaotic is almost too mild a term in Congress lately. So not a lot has happened with regard to the federal budget for fiscal year 24. We did just receive our first notice of award. And if you're not familiar, and I'm just becoming familiar, we receive several notices of award from our federal funders every year. We receive one about this time that tells us we have a certain amount of money from our fiscal year allocation. We just received our first one. It was for about $194,000. Typically, our total allocation is about $1.5 million. So we know that we at least have a couple $100,000 heading into this new fiscal year. We anticipate there will be another award letter, probably January, February. Lonnie can correct me if I'm wrong. But given that we're under a continuing resolution right now, and that CR expires, I think, in about 2 weeks, maybe a week, at least we know we have that much money. What we are hearing from our national association, NACD, and from the folks at ACL is that their best guess is we should budget for level funding for this year, which is actually good news given the fact that previously they've told us that there was a possibility of anywhere between 10 and 20% reduction in funding. But right now they're saying we should budget for level funding. Obviously that can change because Congress has yet to get all of its budget bills together, and the president has not signed a federal budget for the year. But that's how we're proceeding at this point. If that changes, if we do see a reduction in our funding, we may have to make some adjustments to the grant solicitations that we issue next spring and next summer. We obviously will let you know if any of that does come about. At this point, we just don't have any further word.
Okay.
Lonnie, is there anything you wanted to add on that?
No, I think you pretty well covered it. I did want to mention that when the staff kind of went through the review of the 2024 work plan earlier this week, we were kind of trying to be a little forward thinking as well, as far as what projects do we have in place for 24 that would potentially carry forward into 25. So that way we have a better idea of moving forward, what we want to continue with, what we want to do that's new. Something that may not have been done in the past. So just something to think about as we move forward, because there may be, depending on what our total 2024 allotment is, there may be some funds available for new projects. So yeah, nothing to discuss at this point, but just something to be thinking about as we do a deeper dive into 2024 in future meetings.
So if we're to think about it, can you give me kind of a range of how much money you're thinking
At this point, it's a little premature because some of the projects, we haven't even identified the amount that we want for the solicitation. So that will be
Okay.
something that we will probably be putting forward to you as well.
Okay.
Say, this is a solicitation that we want to go out. This is kind of what we were thinking as far as the amount. Are you okay with that? Would you want more to go towards that project? Yes or no? So possibly get your feedback on those things as well. But later today, I plan on having a list of everything and potential amounts for those projects. And then come executive, maybe full council, we'll have a better idea of what may be available in 2024 funding to spend. Just know that for the 2024 work plan, we are actually using 2023 funds. So for 2024 funding, we're kind of looking for the 2025 work plan, if that makes sense. So it's kind of forecasting out for the next year, not the
Yeah.
current year we're in.
Okay. And when would you, if you need our input, I'm just thinking about our next meeting, when would that need to be done by or get our input by?
We were thinking potentially in January.
Okay.
You guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that was a date that was kind of thrown out when we were discussing things this week.
Yeah, given the timing of when we would need to start issuing solicitations in order to get them back for review and final approval, January would be an ideal time for us to meet again as a committee and start talking in more specifics about funding amounts, which projects or which solicitations are going to go out and what the timing of those is going to be.
Okay. Are the work plan members okay with that?
Yes.
That's fine.
Okay,
Yes.
great. Okay. Well, we're coming close to the end of our hour. Any other thing, John, Marcy, Jason?
I'm good. So
You good? Michael?
I'm good.
Okay.
Oh, you know what? Could I?
Sure.
No.
Go ahead.
Well, I just want to really quickly touch on a couple of activities that are not necessarily part of our work plan, but they are things that that you might be interested in knowing about. And again, I'll provide an update to the full council. But we did receive special funding. We've mentioned this a couple of times. We received special funding related to the pandemic to do some COVID vaccine hesitancy outreach or some vaccine acceptance outreach, and then some work for public health workforce development. Those projects are ongoing. They, again, are not reflected in the work plan because they're funded from a different source and they're reported on differently. But that public health workforce project in particular, which is being funded through the Sonoran USAID to the Regional Center for Border Health in Yuma, that is going to heavily inform the work that's being done by the System Access and Navigation Committee on its aging and elderhood efforts. So it has an indirect connection, maybe direct connection to what will ultimately be produced as one of our work plan activities. And that project is going to be completed by December 31st. And then the System Access and Navigation Committee will take over, taking the results of that project and formulating some policy recommendations, formulating potentially some programmatic, possibly some funding recommendations. So that would be my final note. We're looking forward to that, and that is, as I think everyone knows, Mary Slaughter has a kind of a passion for that topic of aging and elderhood among the IDD population. It is clearly an area that's not being well served by our public health system and by other systems around the state. Needs some improvement. So looking forward to what we as a council and what our collaborators can do on that front moving forward.
Okay, good. I was wondering how that project was going. If you're getting more resistance, or are we doing really getting out there and getting the word out there where people really making sure that they were getting the shots or understanding the importance of getting COVID vaccinations. So,
Yeah, I think we're all optimistic that the work is having an impact. I mean, we feel like the numbers were good during the first phase of the pandemic. What I'm hearing lately is that acceptance of the new vaccines has not been as high as anyone would like, but we're continuing to spread the word, and a number of other disability and advocacy organizations are doing so as well. So we're still trying.
oh, good. Okay. Any other questions or comments?
None from me.
Okay. All right. So I'll do a call to the public. I don't think we have anybody from the public on, do we?
No, we do not.
We do not. Okay. All right. Well, our time is almost up, and I was going to ask for somebody to do a motion for us to adjourn. We need to do that, right?
No, we don't.
All right.
Right? Staff, correct me if I'm wrong, but we don't have to do it for full council or executive. I think
Right.
we're good.
Really quickly, Kathy, before we adjourn, do we want to go ahead and schedule the next meeting date today, or would you
Oh,
like?
I'm so sorry. I forgot about that. Yes. It sounds like we maybe need to meet the middle of January, or do you want to meet closer to the early part of January?
Well, we have an executive committee meeting on Friday the 12th, and then we have a full council meeting on Friday the 19th.
Mhm.
Would you like to meet in advance of either or both of those?
I would like to meet before the full council meeting. Yeah.
Okay.
But I need to check with the rest of the work group here, see what they think.
Yeah, that would be good to meet before the council.
Yeah. So that when you report out, we can contribute to that too. Yeah. If needed. Yeah.
So typically we've been meeting at this time on a Friday. The only Friday we would have available if we want to precede those meetings would be the 5th. Is that too early?
That isn't for me, but I want to see what the other council members think.
December, are you talking December 5th or
January.
January 5th? Oh, sorry,
January
guys.
5th.
Okay, yeah. All right. Hang on, I'm looking. My brain is slow as well as my computer right now.
And actually, you know what? I have to apologize to our staff members. Lonnie, is that going to be too early for us to have really meaningful information to share?
No, that should be fine. I'll make sure.
Yeah. We don't need to schedule grants during that time, do we?
I don't think that there's any proposals to be voted on or reviewed at this time, but yeah, Marcy may need that time off, and she would need to be a part of the meeting. So
Okay, I was asking because I'm that committee, so I wanted to make sure before we met for work group if we needed to have a meeting. That's why I was asking.
yeah, and if there's any conflicts, Monica, we could develop a different grant committee meeting time if it needs to be on that date. But I don't know that there's going to be a grants committee meeting in January. Thanks
Okay.
for checking.
I can do the 5th.
Yeah.
I should be able to as well.
Okay. All right. And if Marcy's off, we'll have somebody else take notes, right? Or
Yeah.
we'll have it recorded, so we should be okay.
Yeah.
Oh, but if Marcy's off, John, you'll be leading all of the discussion, right?
Yeah, watch out.
Okay. All right. So everybody is okay with January 5th at 9 a.m. Is that correct?
Yes.
And if the staff feel that that's just too premature, let us know and we can reschedule, okay? Because I don't want to put the staff under just a lot of undue stress. with that meeting date if they need to do other things. So,
Thank you for that.
Thank you, Kathy.
yes. Yes. All
Oh,
right.
we're just saying thanks.
Okay. All right. Great. All right. Well, thank you all for meeting today. And if you get a chance to really look at the documents that were sent to us, I think they're very helpful for our next meeting, just to really understand the performance measures and the definitions that have been provided to us. So, and with that, I wish you all, happy day and a happy weekend, and talk to you guys soon.
Thank you, Kathy.
All right.
Thank you, everybody.
right.
Thank you.
Thank
you all.
Everyone.
Have
Have
a
a
good
Good
weekend.
weekend. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.